But one of the key messages of the book we make in our book is very simple. I said, listen, there were two countries in the world that had military regimes for a long time. One was taken care of by the West. One was taken care of by ASEAN. The country with a long-standing military regime that was taken care of by the West was Syria. How do you take care of that? You had sanctions, isolation, bombing, and so you see what happened to Syria. Myanmar, we did the opposite. We engaged Myanmar, we welcomed them into ASEAN, and we taught them the ASEAN way. And then you saw this amazing gradual transformation away from a military regime towards civilian rule in Myanmar. You know why it happened? Because the Myanmar military officials attended 1,000 ASEAN meetings a year. You talk about boredom. Wow. 1,000 ASEAN meetings, and every time they flew to an ASEAN capital, the Myanmar colonel, the Myanmar general would say, why is, Laos ahead of Myanmar? Why do they have better roads? Why do they have better hospitals? Why do they have better schools? They saw with their own eyes, their eyes open because they go around ASEAN. So that made a huge difference. And that's why they decided, okay. And in our book we tell two amazing stories. When Cyclone Nargis happened, right? Mm-hmm. Big crisis. Myanmar decided not to accept international assistance. And that point, unfortunately, was just after the 2005 UNGA resolution on humanitarian intervention. Bernard Kouchner, the French foreign minister, proudly announces, time for humanitarian intervention to Myanmar. What does the Burmese military do? They take their soldiers away from taking care of the Cyclone Nargis and they go and protect the border from a French intervention. It was a disaster. So what happened? The ASEAN countries, foreign ministers went to Myanmar and spoke to them and asked them a very simple question which we put in the book. How much does ASEAN matter to you? And Myanmar said, yes, ASEAN matters to us and let us help you. And that's how the international assistance to Nargis happened. So, all this slow process of talking and meeting, at the end of the day, a decade later, you see the results. And that's why the region, when I first attended ASEAN meetings in 1971, I went my first ASEAN meeting, just 5 of us in the room, 5 countries. You could feel the suspicion and distrust in the room. You could cut it with a knife, the suspicion, distrust in the room. Then when I became permanent secretary, and then I was a senior official leader, and I went to ASEAN meetings 25 years later, amazing, everybody was so relaxed. The suspicion and distrust had gone away. Thousands of meetings, you build up human networks. And so one of the best things that ASEAN has done is created human networks all through Southeast Asia. And you have, of course, ASEAN meetings of education officials, ASEAN meetings of defense officials, ASEAN meetings of economic officials. But there's also an ASEAN committee of pediatric surgeons. Pediatric surgeons from 10 countries meeting together. Amazing. So you have all kinds of committees that are being created. And so don't downplay the slow process that is going on. And that slow process, I think, the advantage of making ASEAN central is that culture can then infect the rest of East Asia. Just imagine what Northeast Asia would have been like if 50 years ago they set up an ANIAN, an Association of Northeast Asian Nations. They didn't do so. You see the difference. Look at Northeast Asia, look at Southeast Asia. That's what ASEAN did.